sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and can even keep you from getting the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS. Welcome to the No BS Sales School podcast. I'm your host, Walker McKay. Today we're on number 6 of a series about how to sell the No BS way. Well, those of you that know me have been part of this or have had any kind of sales training, obviously. If you had any kind of sales training at all, what you've learned is you got to ask questions. You got to ask questions. You hear that shit all the time. Open-ended questions. Got to ask open-ended questions, which is fine, right? I had a boss years ago when I was at the bank, 4 million years ago, before they fired me or I quit. I can't remember which. And he would always say, Walker, you just got to ask the right questions. You just got to ask the right questions. And I said, oh, what the? Anyway, I'd go watch him and I couldn't tell what the right questions or the wrong questions were because there was nothing consistent. And anyway, but I kept telling him that, what the hell are the right questions? He's like, you're not paying attention. So anyway, that sucked. We had a mutual lack of admiration society for each other. So anyway, I really pondered about that for a long time. What are the right questions? What are they? And I realized I was asking the wrong question. And the correct question was, what am I trying to learn? Because the questions depend upon what you're trying to learn. And in almost every sales situation, what we're trying to do is figure out, does our prospect have a problem? Does our prospect have a problem? Part of my contention is that most people don't know what good looks like. They don't know what good service looks like, what a good product looks like, what working with somebody in a good, they don't know. What they know is what they've been getting. Right? People have been trained by shitty salespeople on how to buy stuff. Shitty sales are like, oh, I could do it for cheaper. We could do it for cheaper, right? And salespeople, show up and like, oh yeah, we got the best service, we got the best quality, we got the best people, and everybody freaking says that shit. And they got brochures to match it. All right? It's bullshit. Everybody knows it's bullshit. You don't have better people. We all got the same damn DNA. Right? Your service. Well, what the hell does great service mean? What does better service mean? Right? You have no idea. Better service or a great service is in the mind of the receiver. It's not in the mind. It's not in your mind. So how do we really differentiate ourselves? And it comes from asking our prospects' opinions. That's the key. It's not just asking questions, but soliciting our prospects' opinions about their situation. Not just for losing $1 million a year, but what do you think about that? Sounds like a pretty extreme example, but it's weird. I met with the guy who was a senior VP of a company. He said his company or his division or something lost $1 million a year before. And I said, what do you think about that? He goes, it's not my problem. Wow. Not my problem. Shit. Okay. Well, no reason to push on that pin then, huh? So, I had another owner I talked to about 2 years ago. He said, company losing money. And I said, what do you think about that? And he said, well, what's interesting is I'm planning on buying my partner out at the end of the year. So losing money now helps me buy it at a much cheaper price. I know how to fix it. I just don't want to do that now. Okay. See, we have no way of knowing what our prospects are thinking unless we ask, and they trust us enough to share the answer. A lot of times, too, what we need to do is help them with second level thinking. Not just the question, right? But how do they help them think through the follow-up to that question? Right? And so they talk about second level thinking is not just thinking about what's happening or what a decision is, but what happens after you make that decision? What are the possibilities then? Really good salespeople are great at helping your prospect think through the second level thinking, answering the second level questions. So let me give you a couple of things to think about, a couple of questioning strategies. We'll do 2 sessions of this. I want to keep these at 12 minutes or below. Let's talk about 3 in this podcast. Number 1 is third-party stories. Number 2 is good, bad. And number 3 is let's pretend. These are 3 easy ones to grasp. They're fun, very fun. They're effective, and you can learn some cool shit. So number 1 is third-party stories. This means instead of sharing your opinions, by the way, this is a thing for sales. Your prospect doesn't give a shit about your opinions until they've paid you for them. You're sharing your opinion early. It's just at best is free consulting. At worst, you're kicking yourself out of a deal, right? If you're sharing your opinions about what they should do to fix it before you fully understand, before they think you fully understand their problem, you're wasting time, wasting your own time. They're disqualifying you at every breath. Do I think this guy's smart? Does he think what I think? Is he challenging me, or is he saying the same old shit everybody else does? Shut up. Right? Ask, don't tell. So instead of saying, we've got the best service, we've got the best people, tell it like somebody told it to you. So you might say instead, a lot of our customers tell us that we've got better service than anybody else in the marketplace. They tell us that our people respond to their requests to solve problems faster than anybody they've ever dealt with. See how that's different? See how that, as my son says, see how that hits different? Right? That hits different. The third party story. And understand they don't have to have specifically happened to you as long as they've happened to somebody in your company. Right? A lot of people say, here's another way to use third party story is when you're talking to somebody and they sound like they're stuck, is you can say instead, you know what? We talked to a lot of people in your situation. It's funny, here's what many of them have decided to do or how they've decided to tackle the problem. Right? Or they said, wouldn't it be great if we could have some kind of an assessment to figure out what's really going on? Right? So you're able to drop that. Instead of saying, we've got an assessment you need to buy. A lot of people have asked us, do you have an assessment you can use? Right? Third party story. The next one is let's pretend. Let's pretend it's just that. You're asking your prospects' opinions from the future as if something happens. Hey, let's pretend that I'm not going to be the cheapest. Any reason we should keep talking? Here's a better one. Let's pretend that it's a year from now, but you decided to hire me today, right? And we worked together for a year. And you're telling me this is one of the greatest things we've done. Hiring you, working with you, paying you is one of the best things we've done. What would have to happen in the next 12 months for you to be able to say that? What would have to happen to you in the next 12 months for you to be able to say that? All right? Let's pretend I can't do that. What do you see happening next? And then based upon their answer, well, let's pretend I can do that. What do you see happening next? Let's pretend I can't cut the price down. Let's pretend I can't cut my price. Any reason we should keep talking? All right? Let's pretend that you go to your boss and talk to him about this. What's he likely to say? How do you think he'd respond? Right? Learn your prospects' opinions about stuff that hasn't even happened yet. Third-party stories we've talked about. And now we talked about let's pretend. And there's another one there that I can't think of what it was. So I'm going to end this podcast quickly. We'll pick up the rest in the next one. I'm Walker McKay with No BS Sales. Thanks for listening. How about write a review for this podcast? Take a picture of the review, email it to me, walker@walkermckay.com, and I will call you and we will find out something special to do. I want to grow this podcast. The more reviews, the more Apple shows this to other people. So if you don't mind helping me game this Apple system, I sure would appreciate it. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you, No BS Sales team.
Thanks for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast. If you haven't already, please take 1 minute to write a quick review for the show. It really does make a huge difference. Also, subscribe to the show and please forward this episode to somebody else who needs to hear it. As a bonus for listening, I'm going to give you access to a free mini course, 7 expensive sales mistakes you're making and what you can do about it. Go to www.7salesmistakes.com and get access to the free mini course. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast.